everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to break down the absolutely crucial vocabulary you need to truly master and actually implement a green lifestyle. You know, we hear these environmental buzzwords thrown around all the time, but today we're going to clarify exactly what they mean and how they apply directly to the choices we make every single day.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're covering the power of green words, what eco-friendly actually means, ensuring a sustainable future, the cycle of decomposition, measuring your carbon footprint, and finally turning those words into action. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Power of green words.
Look, before we can genuinely change our habits and protect the planet, we really need to grasp the language that defines our impact. In our study of green living, specific terms help us actually measure our footprint and accurately describe the products we're using. Mastering these abstract words turns them into a clear, actionable toolkit. It allows us to advocate for the environment with absolute clarity and purpose.
Moving right along to Section 2, what is eco-friendly?
It's a word you see plastered on packaging literally everywhere, right? But what does it actually mean? Well, simply put, when a habit or product gets the eco-friendly label, it means it actively helps maintain the delicate balance of our local ecosystems. It isn't just not harmful, it's actively good for the environment. This is really the baseline for a green lifestyle.
For instance, choosing to bring your own cloth bag to the supermarket instead of grabbing a plastic one, that is a prime, textbook example of an eco-friendly action. The exact same goes for bringing a reusable cup to the coffee shop instead of taking a single-use paper or plastic one. These are fantastic, everyday habits that stop pollution before it even starts.
But you might be wondering, how do these little daily habits actually ensure our long-term future? I mean, bringing a canvas bag is great for today, but how does it protect tomorrow? That leads us to Section 3, ensuring a sustainable future. And here is our second major term, sustainability. Sustainability is really all about efficiency. It means using our resources, like water, energy, and materials, in a way that meets our needs today without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. It's the absolute foundation of a truly green society. It's about making sure we don't completely empty the planet's savings account, so to speak. What's super interesting here is how this concept challenges us to look closely at our own lives. Even our beloved traditions, like buying real Christmas trees, have to be re-evaluated for a sustainable future. Our sources point out that when the holidays wrap up and those real trees go straight to landfills, they actually produce methane and carbon dioxide, two incredibly harmful greenhouse gases. Recognizing things like this helps us find better, sustainable alternatives to protect our natural resources over the long haul.
Okay, so we know how to preserve resources, but what happens to the stuff we simply have to throw away? Because eventually, everything reaches its end of life.
Let's explore that in Section 4, the cycle of decomposition. This brings us to a really vital natural process. When we say a material is biodegradable, it means it has the ability to decompose. It gets destroyed gradually and entirely naturally by bacteria or other living organisms. This process ensures that waste safely returns to the earth to become useful all over again. Understanding this is key when you're choosing what materials to buy.
This comparison starkly illustrates the huge problem we're facing. On one side, we have non-biodegradable plastics that take literally hundreds of years to break down in the ground. Now contrast that with a natural compost pile made of household organic waste, like fruit peels and dry leaves. That biodegradable waste safely returns to the soil as nutrient-rich fertilizer. Choosing biodegradable materials over plastics means we're working with nature's cycle rather than against it.
So, decomposition handles our physical, tangible trash. But what about the invisible impact of our lifestyle? What about the energy we consume and the emissions we create?
That brings us to Section 5, measuring your carbon footprint. This leads us to our final key vocabulary term. Literally every single action, from how we travel to school or work to the products we choose to buy, releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Your carbon footprint is simply the total measurement of all those emissions. And lowering this footprint is a massive step toward preventing climate change.
Just try to wrap your head around this staggering number from our data, 13 billion. That is 13 billion plastic bottles thrown away every single year. Think about the manufacturing, the transportation, and the eventual disposal of 13 billion bottles. The amount of CO2 generated by this one seemingly convenient habit contributes massively to global pollution and inflates our collective carbon footprint to really dangerous levels.
Luckily, it's not all doom and gloom. Our sources highlight several highly practical ways to shrink this footprint right now. It can be as ridiculously simple as making sure we turn off the lights and air conditioners before leaving a classroom. Or it can mean using public transport or cycling to school rather than being driven. These are direct, incredibly measurable ways to lower the amount of CO2 we're putting out there.
And finally, Section 6, Turning Words into Action.
Now that we've got the vocabulary down, it's time to turn those buzzwords into concrete habits. We can follow this simple, step-by-step blueprint to dramatically cut down our environmental impact. Step 1, reduce your use of single-use plastics altogether. Step 2, reuse items, like cleaning and storing leftover food in plastic takeaway containers instead of tossing them. Step 3, recycle paper, cardboard boxes, and plastics properly. And hey, make sure to rinse out those containers so they don't contaminate the whole recycling bin.
By embracing zero-waste tips, like cooking at home, using glass jars, reducing your overall garbage, and recycling correctly, you shift from being a passive learner to an active, empowered participant in your environment. You are literally living the vocabulary.
Eco-friendly, sustainable, biodegradable, carbon footprint. These aren't just textbook terms to memorize for a test. They are your personal tools for change. Truly understanding them allows you to make informed, highly intentional choices every single day.
Because ultimately, the language of sustainability only matters if we actually speak it through our actions. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought. Which of these powerful words are you going to put into action today to lead your community toward a greener future?